How did the kid from your school die? And stage renal disease. She was doing good for a couple years and waiting for a transplant while getting regular dialysis, but ended up passing away in 11th grade. He froze to death in his sleep after passing out in the snow. It was a school trip with his class and they had some beers, but probably some of the first few times they tried alcohol. It was devastating. They were moving from one house to another and he had said he needed a break in between, but everyone forgot or just thought he's in another house. Sounds like an obvious mistake, but it's not necessarily that cold, even if it's snow, especially after a drink. To lie down and chill on a snow pile with a good jacket is no problem, but if you pass out and forgotten, well damn. Fell off a jet ski and then got hit by it when the driver turned around. Drowned. A group of kids got skunk drunk, decided to take a ride down a notoriously winding road. One guy was standing in the back of the truck, fell out as they rounded one of the hairpin curves. Didn't make it. Kid in my school was bet $100 he couldn't chug a 26er of whiskey. Won the bet, died an hour later. I was watching Animal House with my dad when I was younger. We reached the scene where Belushi's character is introduced as he chugs a whole thing of liquor. My dad turned to me and said very seriously, "Never do that. You could die." Well, never did that. And as far as I can tell, I'm not dead either. I'm 2 for 2, Dad. He was playing football and randomly passed out. Never woke up again. Something similar happened to a coworker of mine. He was playing basketball and sat out a game complaining of a headache. Then he passed out and never woke again. He was barely 30. It was devastating. Happened on the soccer pitch next to ours when I was playing 5. All side with Merc buddies. Kid who looked late teens fell down hard and didn't come back up again. They tried CPR and the defibrillator from the office before the paramedics showed up. We just stood there speechless, watching it go down. And while it looked super bad, they took him away on a stretcher, still working on him, so I didn't actually find out he died until a week later when we were back for our usual slot and they held a silence. Never even found out the kid's name, but I still think about it sometimes. Life can so be fragile. His girlfriend broke up with him. He didn't take it well. One afternoon after school, he walked down to the primary school near our high school and shot himself in the head right outside the entrance. Didn't know him well, but I don't think he had all that many friends. He always had sad eyes, but was very nice whenever someone spoke to him. Same thing happened at my high school in the 80s. The principal ran out and covered the body with his own suit coat. My headmaster saw a pupil run over directly outside the school. The kid was stuck under the car. The headmaster single-handedly lifted the car enough for others to get the kids out from underneath. Not a massive car, but still superhuman strength in the moment. The boy survived. Happened to a friend of mine. Her boyfriend broke up with her and she didn't take it very well. It didn't help much that she had a lot of trauma from being a foster kid. I guess that was the final straw for her. She overdosed in her bathroom. I miss her like crazy. We weren't incredibly close at the time of her passing, but she was my first friend when I started middle school and she helped me grieve the loss of my dad at the time. Her wake was jam-packed with friends and family. She was 17. A few months later, I lost another good friend to a robbery gone wrong. I think of them daily. Like 5 of them died of drunk driving accidents, 3 of them at one time. Little redneck school in the middle of nowhere. Apparently people seem to think drinking and driving is the only way to have fun. Getting a Dewey is like a rite of passage in some of those towns, I swear. An electrician screwed up rewiring her family's house so a live wire was touching a metal pipe connected to the bath. Her mom was wearing rubber work boots when she filled the bath, so wasn't electrocuted, but she must have accidentally brushed against the tap or gone to add some more water while submerged and was killed instantly. We lived in a very small town where everyone knew each other, so it really rocked our community. She was in the grade above me, so it would have been around 10, 11. This is horrifying. New fear unlocked. Of all things, an unfortunate camping accident. This was before cell phones. 2 friends went out for the weekend to a campground for some fishing over the weekend. When they didn't arrive home at the time, they said they would. The parents called the provincial park to see if they were running a bit late. The weather wasn't great and the camp was about an hour away from town, so it was entirely possible they decided to stay another night and drive out in the morning instead. The park warden stumbled upon their campsite and found both of them dead in their shared tent. Turns out, it was a cool night, and they decided to run a small heater in the tent to be warm. But it was an old heater that didn't have a shut-off sensor built in. The heater ran all night while they were asleep, and since they didn't open the flaps on their tent for air circulation, because they wanted to trap the heat, the tent filled with carbon monoxide and suffocated them in their sleep. So sad. And a week before school, too. I have seen a lot of death in my line of work. I used to be a forensic investigator. I've seen every way to turn a person into pink goo or burned crypts. The co-poisoning cases always get me, though. Just a life interrupted and ended. Everything is all there like normal, but There's dead people there. The cold cases bother me much more than fire cases or meat crayons. There was a story in Australia a few years ago. Two young boys died in their sleep. The mother was suspected to have killed them. Her ex-husband, the boys' father, stood by her saying she would never harm the boys. She ended up in hospital from coke poisoning as she was still staying in the house. It was a faulty heater that was slowly killing them. The boys died first because their bodies were much smaller. The mom survived. Her and her ex-husband do a lot of campaigning about getting old heaters tested. Truly awful story. Terrible story, but so great to hear they found a way to make a difference. Yeah, it was bittersweet. I loved how the ex-husband stood by the mother of his children. The media were implying the mom killed the boys. Two truly wonderful people that, even though their marriage didn't work, they both loved their boys and remained friends and loving co-parents. And the change in legislation helps renters with landlords. When they come to check your heater, they also check your fire alarms and air conditioner units. She was in the 5th grade and needed a blood transfusion. Her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses and refused the procedure. I don't know what condition she had, but she died due to lack of medical care. Try making sense of that at 11 years old. Massachusetts, 1995. Testicular cancer at age 12. Really nice boy too. Two different people from college I know both died from testicular cancer in their very early 20s. Very scary SE. A doctor friend once told me cancer in anyone under 30 tends to be incredibly aggressive. I suppose it's because the cells generate so quickly. There's probably some bias too, because young people are less likely to think it's cancer and get it checked out early. Playing along a fast-moving creek deep in the woods. First teen gets pulled under really fast. Second one immediately runs and dives in to find him. A minute later, first teen comes back up on the other side, exhausted but thankfully unhurt. Guy who went in to find him was not coming back up. Was in the days before cell phones. Had to run a good mile back up the trail, hop in the car, drive to the nearby park ranger office, East Texas Big Thicket area, and report, get help along with guide rescuers. Took about 30 minutes total to get back out there to the accident. Still no sign of him. Rescue workers found that under the higher waters were tons of plant tree debris everywhere. 2 days of removal while still trying to control fast-moving waters. His body was finally found. He had dived too deep trying to find the first friend, getting trapped under the submerged branches, without enough energy or breath to fight against the current to get out and back up. He was only 15. It really sucks that he died, but it says a lot about him for how he died. Trying to save his friend. Yep, World lost a good person, saw his friend in need, and didn't hesitate to risk his own life trying to help. Tragic. Unfortunately, trying to save someone in a drowning situation tends to just result in both victim and would-be savior getting hurt or killed. More stories on the channel. RedStore.